think Africa is definitely evolving. I think the classics are those cover stories from Time magazine and from The Economist, which 10 years ago had Africa, the hopeless continent, a young rebel with an AK-47 or an RPG, I can't remember what it was, over his shoulder, compared to late last year when we had both Time and Economist coming out with Africa, the new dawn, or a new beginning, or the growth story of Africa. So certainly Africa is changing. I think we're seeing increased stability in many parts of the continent, with obvious pockets of that are still fairly unstable, but increasing stability on the continent, increasing democracy, increasing transparency, accountability, and governance. And I think a lot of that is being driven by the growing middle class. I think we always say, from a stability point of view, once someone has a mortgage and a home and some student loans and a job and a car, they become much more vested in stability and in slow, steady, predictable growth. So as the continent urbanizes and as the middle class grows, I think that's an internal driver of a lot of stability that we are seeing. So certainly Africa, for me, a very different place to what it was 10 years ago. If you look at a country like Ethiopia, has had 10 years of double-digit growth. And if you think about the compounding effect of that over 10 years, what the difference is in terms of the average per capita income and the GDP of a country like Ethiopia from 10 years ago to now, that obviously has to have an impact on it. So yes, I think the future looking very bright for Africa. I think it's going to be 3 steps forward, 1 step back here and there, as one is in a developing continent and developing nations. But increasingly we will see stability, we will see increased regionalism on the continent, we will see increased cooperation, and we're seeing it already with a lot of the large infrastructure projects, which indeed are regional projects rather than country projects. So you can look at the North-South corridor, which President Jacob Zuma leads, for example, which runs from Durban up to Tanzania. We'll see more of that, looking at actually unlocking the benefits of integration and synergistic growth across regions rather than on a country basis. We must remember that the countries in Africa were originally divided up along colonial lines and not with thoughts to producing any single stable economic block or entity. So many of the countries in Africa are actually not economically viable on their own, and it becomes very important for them to participate in a regional block in order to secure the size of the market which is needed to really generate the levels of growth and to continue those levels of growth that we have been seeing.